I love catching up with my friends on a Friday. Nicholas Rees, the former Labor guru, and Catherine McGregor, who also worked for Labor and Liberal and media and the Australian Defence Forces. Great to have you both again. We were just chatting during the break about what sort of a weird year this has been. Perhaps we'll come back to that in a moment. But I want to start off in the US because it's been weirder in the US than anywhere else. And Donald Trump still reckons he won the election. Let's have a look at what he had to say this week.
Next great victory for our movement begins right here on January 5th, and then we are going to win back the White House. We're going to win it back. And we're going to take back the House in 2022. And then in 2024, and hopefully I won't have to be a candidate, we're going to win back the White House again.
I don't know, it's pretty strange, Catherine. I get a lot of abuse from some of our viewers when I say that he's like the Black Knight. You know, it's just a flesh wound. I'm triumphant, but it's looking increasingly bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is to me. You know, you've got to know when to hold them and you've got to know when to fold them. And the Electoral College will meet, and barring an epidemic of faithless electors, it's over, you know, and it's been over for some time. There's just no nice way around it. He's lost. There will be a Biden presidency, and he can have as many rallies as he wants. But the fact that the votes are in and it's over.
It's extraordinary stuff, Nick, because I was speaking to John Decker, Fox News radio reporter, the other day, and he's very close to the White House, great reporter, and he says he doesn't think Trump will ever concede. In other words, as Catherine says, that will happen. The Electoral College will vote. There'll be an inauguration, but we'll never actually have Donald Trump giving that concession speech, offering his losers consent. How much damage does that do to him and the system?
I think quite significantly, Chris. I mean, look, the Trump presidency has been the train wreck you couldn't look away from, and I just feel like most Americans, probably most Australians, just can't even look at it anymore because, I mean, he's just flying in the face of the spirit of democracy. I mean, the results are in. He has lost. He needs, in the interest of his country, in the interest of his party, he needs to concede so that the new president, no matter what his political background is, gets the best start possible for the good of that country. And yet here he is, you know, the speculation today that he may use the January inauguration day to actually launch his re-election campaign for 2024. If the media speculation is right, he'll do that down in Florida. So he won't even bother to turn up to the inauguration of Joe Biden. He won't even bother to give Joe Biden the customary tour of the White House. And so the American people won't see that peaceful handing over of power, which is, at the end of the day, the bedrock of what democracy is all about.
Yeah, I find a lot of that hard to disagree with because I think he damages himself and the Republicans the more this goes on, although I do disagree with some of it. Catherine, I think there are some good things about the Trump presidency. I look at the tax cut plan. I look at the way he's stood up unashamedly to China, especially on trade wars. I think that's been good for Australia, especially what he's done in Middle East peace, tearing up the Iran agreement. And yet today, another advance with Morocco signing a diplomatic agreement with Israel. That's 4 countries now. So there's been some really good advances that we hope Biden will build on, but he certainly is trashing his reputation as he goes.
All of that's true, and I thought Greg Sheridan wrote a great piece some time ago saying that the challenge was to just view this presidency as another president and another politician and view him by those standards, which means that sometimes he does things that I disagree with, and other times, especially in the area of geopolitics, he's done things that I've endorsed. And I've said it on this network. He's not my style. Admirable conservatives like Brett Stevens and George Will have never warmed to this guy. I found his attacks on John McCain reprehensible for a guy who deferred service 5 times to attack a genuine war hero on the grounds that he did was contemptible. But having said that, what he did, he honoured the promise to end the interminable involvement in unwinnable wars in the Middle East. That was a very, very smart move. Whether it was intuitive or based on advice, he's lowered the US ground footprint in those areas and recalibrated US strategy to an area that matters to us, namely the Indo Pacific. He killed Soleimani. That was overdue. He showed steel in doing that, and I admire him for doing it. But a lot of that's going to be forgotten because of these antics, and they are frankly childish antics.
Well, let's bring it back to domestic politics today and the management of the pandemic. We had the National Cabinet meeting in Canberra today, meeting in person for the first time in many, many months. It's been a bit of a Zoom affair, but the one Premier who decided not to turn up in Canberra was Mark McGowan. He didn't want to sit in the same room as the South Australian Premier, Stephen Marshall, who had locked down his state last month for nothing. I mean, it's embarrassing. Here's Mark McGowan yesterday explaining why he wouldn't be turning up.
The rule is there, it's very clear, it applies to all West Australians. I'm not going to break the rule. So I made that clear, I advised the Prime Minister of that a week or so ago, and it's very important that I set a good example.
No, I mean, it's not a partisan thing, Nicholas. Stephen Marshall's been just as bad as Mark McGowan, and Daniel Andrews and Anastasia Palaszczuk, Peter Gutwein. I mean, it's been a joke. Can't we just have a Prime Minister run the country in a pandemic? Or if it must be a Premier, leave it to Gladys Berejiklian?
Well, look, I think one of the most fascinating things about Australian politics this year has been the the rise of the states, or more the reminder, I guess, to us all that the states still have a very powerful role in the running of the country and in the running of our lives. And all those lockdown powers are, of course, things that were exercised by the states under their powers. Now, as for Premier Mark McGowan, look, you may disagree with him, Chris, but I think he's probably the most popular Premier in Australian polling history, Mr. 89% or something.
Yeah, I've never been into that.
And look, that's
I've
been
built, never been into that cheap populist stuff. Catherine, I want to get this interesting point.
I agree.
Interesting point Nicholas raises about states' powers. This year, we've got the left being all about states' rights, Catherine.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see Nicholas at the Samuel Griffith Society annual conference next year. Look forward.
I've always been a states' rights
Nicholas.
lefty, I'll have you know. I've always been a states' rights lefty, I'll have you know.
Look forward,
indeed.
Look forward to seeing you there, and I'll sign you up for Australians for Constitutional Monarchy as well.
Won't get me on the second part of the equation, sorry.
It has been great having both of you on the program this year. You won't be with us next year because you've both gone on to shows of your own, which is great, a great thing here for Sky News. So thanks for your company this year. I think it's been a tough old year, really, for everyone. But Catherine, your year has been difficult. Nicholas, I think, has been the toughest of the lot, suffering through that Melbourne lockdown. So have a great Christmas and New Year, and I look forward to your new roles on Sky next year.
And thanks for the opportunity and best wishes to both you guys. Have safe Christmases with your families, and to all our viewers too. It's we have a bit of a stink here occasionally on a Friday night, but I think it shows what Australia's all about, doesn't it? We can disagree and still have a laugh together as well.
Spot on, Catherine. Thank you, Nicholas.